As the Detroit branch NAACP marks on our centennial celebration in 2012, I humbly ask for your indulgence as we respond to change and a new way of doing business of civil rights and social justice advocacy. For life is only but a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon, you can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it. But it is up to you to use it. Give an account if you abuse it, suffer if you lose it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. In ACP, this is our minute. Emergency financial manager, I say no. Our mayor and city council are capable. This is our minute. 60 kids in the classroom, absolutely not. In ACP and education, this is our minute. Railroading our young people into the criminal justice system, absolutely not. Our Thurgood Marshall Social Justice Advocacy Project says, this is our minute. To my peers, those under the age of 40, as we change the guard, now we must guard the change. I call for each and every one of you. I need your support. This is our minute. I am extremely appreciative of the faith and support that I have received from all of you as I have assumed the responsibility of interim executive director. I have truly been a beneficiary of a family and a community that has wrapped their arms around me, demanded greatness, and physically, mentally, and spiritually supported the pursuit thereof. I look forward to the opportunity to serving all of you in this association well in this capacity. To my good friend, Hester Wheeler, thank you, Hester, for 12 years of dedicated service as executive director. Please join me in thanking Hester Wheeler. To our president, Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony, who I'm always searching for words to describe, for having the audacity to appoint a young man to the largest branch in the country. I'm always challenged when I try to introduce Reverend Anthony. But it reminds me back to the adventures of Superman. For he is faster than a speeding bullet. As he responded to the young shooting of young Miss Aiyana Jones and implemented the Bridges program, which put thousands of young people to work in the summer, opened up numerous schools and provided after-schools curriculum for them to become engaged in. For he's more powerful than a locomotive, as he challenges the transportation system to offer contracting to minorities, to put minorities to work on our roads. For he's able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. For he's a bridge builder. Reverend of Fellowship Chapel, a $17 million facility with 140 homes, a community builder. So I say, look up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's not Superman, it's the Rev. Yes, Reverend Wendell Anthony, a strange visitor from another planet called Kinloch, Missouri, who came to Earth, Detroit that is, with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. The Rev who can change the course of mighty rivers and a community, bend still in his bare hands and work with our incarcerated, and who disguised as Wendell Anthony, 10th term president, a mild-mannered pastor from a great metropolitan NAACP branch, the oldest and boldest, most feared and revered, most cussed and discussed. He fights a never-ending battle of truth, justice, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode. Join me in welcoming the adventures of the Rev, our president of the Detroit branch NAACP in his 10th term, the Reverend Dr. Wendell Anthony.
Thank you, Donnell White, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence here today. If we could have as much as possible for you to join me in a moment of remembrance and in a moment of tribute. As we sit here today enjoying this dinner, all is not well in America. All is not well with many of our fellow brothers and sisters in the southern part of this nation. Many of us have roots in Alabama, in Georgia and Mississippi, Arkansas, St. Louis, and other places. But today, over 340 persons have been killed as a result of a horrendous tornado and storms in Alabama. Some of you may have family members that have been affected. We have lost some of our freedom fighters who were with us this time last year. But God has seen fit in his infinite wisdom to allow us to be here again this year. So I'm going to ask if we might put our forks down and pause for a moment and just stand in tribute to those who are suffering the storm in Alabama, to those who have lost their lives through the storm, and to those freedom fighters who've gone on to glory from last year to this year. If your neighbor is talking, don't talk to your neighbor. If your neighbor is talking, don't talk to your neighbor. Just put your finger up and give a moment of silence in tribute to our folk who are suffering, who are without homes, who are without shelter, who have lost loved ones at this hour. Let us pause. Thank you very much. I want to pay tribute to the Executive Committee of the Detroit Branch NAACP. If you're here, board members, executive committee members, please stand. Please stand, board members, executive committee members. Let's give them a big hand. These are the people that work on a day-to-day basis to make this happen. Thank you. I want to give credit and acknowledge all of our volunteers, the hundreds of people that work every day and every year to make this event possible. Let's give them a hand, all our volunteers. Thank you, volunteers, for what you have done. I want to acknowledge all of those individuals who have come and who are part of this historic gathering today. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with the Detroit Branch NAACP as we reflect and remember on the events of last year and get ready for the challenges that we face this year. We come at a very critical time in our nation's history. For at this time that we come not just for a dinner, but for an iconic event when we network together. We come at a time when a lot of noise is being made all around us. We come at a time when we cannot hear the benefits of that which God has in store for us because of the noise that is being made by the political machinery and the economic devastation that we have faced. If we know anything at this very critical hour, it is for certain that we must continue to fight to achieve and to hold on to the very essence of what we have gained as a people who believe in freedom, democracy, and respect. This very hour, our nation is resting with its very soul, where we maintain a free and citizen-based community of people where all men and women have the right to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity? Or will we become a nation governed by a manager without the input of the people? This is why our theme is now that we've changed the guard, we must now guard the change. Not since the days of the civil rights movements of the 60s and the early 70s have we seen such vitriolic and a rapid increase in hate talk and hate threats and physical threats against people of different ethnic and cultural traditions. Michigan ranks number 2 in our nation as a result of hate crimes and threats against various groups. Yet while we passed the extension of the Voting Rights Act, Congressman Lewis, we have 2 new justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, Congressman Conyers. We have our nation's first African-American president, Senator Stabenow. We have our first U.S. Attorney General who is African-American, Senator Levin. We still must struggle. Jobs are too few, and justice is sometimes too slow. We need a national jobs bill to aid our crumbling cities. We cannot continue to cut. We cannot continue to cut our way into financial security without forcing our people into human obscurity. Everyone must share in the pain so that everyone can benefit from the gain. We must guard against oil companies making $34.7 billion in the first quarter of this year, over $350 million a day, while everyday people lose money every week, having to pay $4.10 a gallon for gasoline. Everyone must share in the pain so that the people will not alone be the bearers of the pain. We must guard against closing down our schools in Detroit and forcing 60 children in a classroom by the state, while other folks enjoy high student allocations per pupil in their classrooms all around the state. We must guard against an educational system that diminishes and fight for one that increases. We will not go back to before Brown versus the Board of Education. We have achieved too much, come too far to turn back now. Even the Bible says the laborer is worthy of his hire. Since 1886, the American Federation of Labor under Samuel Gompers, organizing the craft unions, have engaged in the process of collective bargaining. Yet this was even further formalized with Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal in 1933 to 36. Yet today, we still need some new deals where everyone is brought to the table to discuss and to maintain and to expand the gains that we have all made. The NAACP is committed to working, to marching, to advocating, and to building a new community based on the dignity and respect and the full opportunities for all people. To only dream and not to achieve the American right to opportunity and prosperity is incomplete. We do believe in change, but change has to be a two-way street, not a one-way avenue. We still will not be trumped because this is not a game. We will not be budgeted out of the education because we have too much invested. We will not be silent because silence is complicity in your own self-invisibility. But we must be reminded, all of us, that as we celebrate the rise of nations overseas fighting to win democracy, we must not disallow our people at home fighting to maintain democracy. In the words of that famous political scientist, Alexis de Tocqueville, America is great because she is good. If America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. We must remind our nation of her greatness as we compel her to continue to spread her goodness. Good afternoon to everybody here. We are pleased to have you here. I want you to know that even though we get a lot of heat, there's no place in America that can bring together this kind of a group to network and to sit down for freedom, justice, and equality. It's not Atlanta, as fine as that is. It's not New York, as fine as that is. It's not LA, as fine as that is. It's not DC, as fine as that is. It's not Chicago, as fine as that is. It is the people who live in the city of Detroit. Give Detroit a hand. Can't nobody touch Detroit. Can't nobody come close to Detroit. Can't nobody beat Detroit. Can't nobody do it like Detroit. Can't nobody win like Detroit. In Detroit, this is what we do. This is what we do. Now run out of here and tell somebody about that. Thank you for that Detroit moment. It is now my pleasure to introduce the leader of Detroit, who has a big job, who has a major challenge. But only leadership can deal with the challenges. Everybody won't agree, but one thing we can agree upon is that in order to deal with the challenges, we all must be at a common table to deal with those issues that affect us commonly. So ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the mayor, the leader of the city of Detroit, the one who must move our city forward, the one who must put the ball through the hoop, the political ball, the economic ball, the social ball, the Honorable Dave Beam.
Thank you. It's always very, very difficult whenever you have to follow a preacher. And it's doubly difficult when you have to follow in the footsteps of Reverend Anthony. Let's give him another hand. You know, we had a press conference before we sat down for this dinner, and one of the things that I said at the press conference I want to share with you tonight, and that is, there are a lot of people in our city, there are a lot of people across the country who would say that the NAACP is no longer relevant. But as I look out into this audience, and I see the crowd that comes here year after year after year, I will say that the NAACP and Detroit is more relevant than it's ever been. I would also say that as a city, there are a lot of people that have given up on the city of Detroit. People across this country who know very little about the heart and soul of the people here. And one of the things that I've learned over my 40-plus years is we like to fight and we won't give up. So we're not going to give our city up to anybody. What's going to happen as we look forward through the rest of this year and years to come? We've had our problems. We know we have our warts, but we know there's a lot of fight that's left in us. And not only do we depend on the NAACP to do our fighting, they are also responsible for helping us to fix the problems that we have here in the city. So I commit to you that I will stand up with any people in the city of Detroit to take on